I thought it would be super fun to reach back into the past, back to 2011 and subsequent years, and share some of my old blog posts with you, which were actually the launching pad to this podcast. They're all posted in a section called Thoughts by Me on my website. I'll put a link in the description. And there's actually some fun recipes on there that I had completely forgotten about that I will be revisiting. And there's some interesting challenges, like life challenges that I challenged myself to that I blogged about. Kind of fun. So let's take a blast to the past. Thoughts from a house with no furniture from September 8th, 2013. It's funny how life can change completely in just a moment, and nothing will ever be the same again. Sometimes we get complacent in life. We get comfortable with the mundane, the status quo. We think what we own is ours, that our job is permanent, and that we can keep our loved ones forever. We say, that's my life, and expect it to stay that way. I believe that in January, God told me this would be my year of new beginnings. I was excited to see what was in store for me. The first half of the year, I spent a lot of time with doctors and specialists trying to find out why I have this pain in my lower left abdomen. Hundreds of dollars later, they still had no answer for me except that I have weird blood and unexplained pain. Thanks, I figured the latter part out on my own. In March, my dad, who had been battling COPD and emphysema for 6 years, found out he also had adenocarcinoma, lung cancer. Then in May, that terrible tornado hit Oklahoma City, and some ladies from my church and I headed out to offer a hand. It was oppressive and devastating to see the devastation left in its wake. It was emotionally as well as physically draining. Meanwhile, my family was going through a very difficult time. Dad sent a midnight text the last night we were there in Oklahoma, asking me to call as soon as I could because my little sister needed some help. When we returned to Virginia, I posted the pictures that I had taken in Oklahoma on my Facebook page in hopes that it would spark others to go and lend a hand. My dad made a comment on one of the pictures that I took as an insult. For 38 years, Dad and I spent a lot of time misunderstanding one another. I called and yelled at him. The insult had cut deep. He told me to call back when I knew what I was talking about, then sent me a nasty email. 1 week later, he was hospitalized. The last words I had with him were, "Catch you on the flip side." And I'll tell you now, it wasn't worth it. It was a waste. Our fight was ridiculous and stupid. My sister tried to talk me into calling him. "I don't want you to regret this, sissy," she said. "I'll hold the phone up to his ear for you." At that point, he couldn't talk with tubes down his throat, but he could react still. I missed my opportunity because of stubbornness. On July 12th, my older brother flew me to Arizona to see my dad, who had been in an induced coma for weeks. He picked me up and we went straight to the hospital. Dad knew I was there. His stats changed the second he heard my voice. We spent the next couple days deciding when we would let him go. On Monday, July 15th, my dad left this world, with his hand in mine and his eyes on me. I felt his soul go home. Exactly 1 week later, my ferret, Bug, who I had for 7 years since he was a baby, died. I spent the month with my family. When I got home, I made hubby's life difficult with major pressure on him to look for a job in Tucson, so I didn't miss any more opportunities with my family. We got in a huge fight and he said, "Just go then, Nikki. I have a great job here. This is where I will be if you decide to come back." I snarkily replied, "You can't guarantee any job," and stormed out the door. After a long walk, walking has been helping me with depression, and a long makeup talk, He agreed to diligently look for work in Arizona. 2 weeks later, hubby lost his job. He was the go-to guy there, the one who everyone relied on. All of his reviews were exceeding expectations. This was a complete shock. Then I had a friend die in a car accident. We weren't real close, but this is a tight-knit community, and I cared about her. She had such a bubbly personality. You'll be missed by many, Jackie. I pray for your parents all the time and will continue to. I yelled at God, "What are you doing to me? Haven't I lost enough? You told me this was my year of new beginnings," I thought, "and all I see are endings." I was already angry with him for taking my dad away before we resolved our issues. At one point, I stood in the middle of the road and demanded he give my dad back. Like I said earlier, when Dad died, I took up walking. Like Forrest Gump ran for 3 years straight, I have this sudden urge to walk. Walk, Nikki, walk. It's Great Depression medicine. My dear friend and spiritual sister started walking with me. One evening, she made me sit down and talk things out with God. I'm so grateful for her. I felt like a weight lifted off of me. The pressure I'd been feeling on my chest was gone. And I realized that there has to be an end to have a fresh beginning. I had been seeing things through my eyes instead of God's. When we look through our eyes, everything can look muddy and smeared and just plain crappy. We're moving back to New Mexico and can only take what fits in 2 cars, a Cruise and a Scion. I'm learning a new lesson on what's really important in life. I'm a photographer and have 38 years worth of albums and scrapbooks and miscellaneous pictures that haven't quite made it into those yet. We accumulate stuff. I always joked around saying, if something ever happened with my marriage, you'd see me driving down the road with my dining room table and 8 chairs strapped to my roof. I sold that $1,100 table for $450 yesterday, and I'm okay with that. My house is nearly empty, but there's laughter in my house. My 16-year-old hubby and I have no living room TV any longer, so we entertain ourselves. We have our health, except that pesky pain in my abdomen. And we have each other. Next week, we will get in those cars and drive back across the country to family and loved ones. I'm sad to leave the dear friends I've made here, but it's time for this chapter to end. It's time to see what the new beginning looks like. See you soon. I'm checking out for another minute.
Thank you so much for being here today. If you haven't already, hit that subscribe button right there for me. And click the bell if you want notifications. And hit that like button too. And I will see you next time. Maranatha!
I wanna follow where he leads. We were made to love, we were made to give. The reason why we're here, the reason why he gave us life. We were made to show the love of Christ. We know this is why we're here, this is why he gave us life. So let his love shine through in everything we do. It's all for love.